I see the crystal raindrops fall, and the beauty of it all is when the sun comes shining through.
Podcast.
To make those rainbows in my mind when I think of you sometime, and I wanna spend some time with you.
Chase Kennedy.
Just the two of us.
Grant.
We can make it if we try.
Podcast.
Just the two of us. Just the two of us.
Chant
Podcast.
Just the two of us.
Chase Kennedy.
Building castles in
Grant.
the sky. Just the two of us.
Chant
Podcast.
Chase Kennedy.
Grant. Chant. Podcast.
Podcast.
No, that's a chant.
3, 2, 1. What's up? Welcome to the Chant Podcast. This is Chase and Grant. We try to understand and talk drunk to each other as often as we can, and this is fucking weird, but we have 2 fucking awesome special guests, and we will swear as much as we need.
Celebrity guest, I would say.
Here is my favorite person in the world. To my left, this is Vong. He's Asian, not Chinese. He's 37 years old.
What's up? My name is Vong. That's me. I'll pass it on to the next guest.
All right, hey everybody. My name is Chris Onderick, and I'm happy to be here on the podcast today. So thanks for having me on as a special guest.
And this is Chase Kennedy, the co-creator of this podcast. Do we have a 5th person around?
Logan was going to be sitting quietly in the background, but he went upstairs, and we don't know where he is.
Okay, yeah, we don't need to talk about him. So, anything else to bring? Do we just jump right into the topic? On this podcast, we are going to, tackle specific topics and try to stay on course. Whether or not that'll happen is to be determined. But yeah, we'll try to stick on one topic and kind of just debate it how we present it. So I don't know if it's time to present it yet or not.
Yeah, no, I think, first of all, I think what we're trying to do here is we get together a lot of times, we get drunk, we start arguing about stuff. There's a ton of podcasts out there with like people that are into philosophy, people that have studied for years and years and years, but sometimes it's better just to have regular people talk about it, to try to understand it, how we look at it, how we try to fucking think through the ideas and belief systems. And I think me and Chase specifically don't always see eye to eye, and it creates a lot of different abilities for us to see in a different light, to change our perspective a little bit. Sometimes it makes us grow, sometimes it makes us want to fucking throw down, because,
Well, I want to read, like, this particular topic that we're addressing tonight was the reason I got the idea to even do this as a podcast, because me and you talked about this exact thing we're going to revisit for literally, a couple hours, and it was pretty much like the epitome of what a podcast should be. Like it was just going back and forth. So that's what kind of gave me the idea. But then, so now I'm actually glad that we have 2 extra people here, because it's not a complete rehashing of a thing we talked about. We get even 2 more opinions. So yeah, I think it'll be good.
I think it will be too. That being said, what is our issue that we're going to start at? And again, this might go off the rails. It probably will go off the rails. But that's part of the fun.
I think we can keep it. I don't know, but yeah, we will see. But yeah, so I guess, and this is what, and I think I was the one that, or I know when me and you talked about it, I had presented the idea, if altruism truly exists, like true altruism, meaning, a completely selfless act, with no kind of background of self-gratification. And I think that there is, I'll just start off with my stance. I think there is, however, I do think that it's overused in general conversation. Like, I think a lot of times certain, like, people acting altruistic just because they represent a charity or something, a lot of times you can kind of tell if they're full of shit and they're doing it for their own gratification. That's an extreme example. But however, I do think there are certain extreme examples where I personally think that it does exist, even though it's rare, but it exists. And that's
When you first brought this up between each other, how did it come up, Chase? Why did you think of it at that
Oh, okay. I didn't know if this was going to come up, but I'm just, I might as well bring it up, because it's actually a very personal thing that I was debating on. Without getting into a bunch of details, a family member, like extended family member, not even a blood relative, but someone that my family's always looked at as a family member, lives out of state and was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. So she's now in a facility. And so but I've always been, I've always really loved her. And so I actually was talking to Grant about how, because I've been thinking about, taking a flight down there to visit her. And then I was thinking about it, and I was struggling with the whole concept of if she truly is, like, let's say, lost enough where she doesn't even remember me, then I was starting to, my brain was fucking with itself, wondering, am I doing that for my own gratification, or is it truly, you know what I mean? So that seriously is how it was. It was like, who am I doing this for? Is it a truly, that's how it all kind of started.
And then I argue
What?
that of course you're doing it because of your own selfish reasons.
Yes, and that's what sparked this. Yes.
Can I take a moment to say that was way more intense than I thought it would be for an answer to that question?
I honestly,
It's
when you
intense.
asked, I
It's a
couldn't
lot.
remember
Sorry.
if I even told. No, actually, I forgot my notes at home, but I had written that down with a question mark, wondering. But you know what? I absolutely should bring it up because that's how is how it got brought up.
So if you break that down, break it down,
Yeah.
break it down, why did you want to do that?
Well, that I guess I don't know. I guess in that respect, I don't have too much of an argument. I guess it pretty much is for me, unless there's a chance that she does recognize me and it does somehow, or doesn't even know who I am. But what if it does give her comfort, just somebody visiting her? I don't know. There's so many different ways to think about that. So, and I'm definitely not disputing that it probably is satisfying something in my mind. It has to be. I get that. But my argument saying that true altruism exists, I would agree that in that example, that's not an example of true altruism. I'm not trying to say that. I think I had brought up to you. I'll just bust. This was in my notes too. But there has to, in my opinion, I think extreme examples such as somebody in war throwing themselves in front of a bullet for a fellow soldier or something. Like I think snap decisions like that. I think those are more true altruistic acts. So that's a whole other thing. But I'm just saying, if you're trying to pinpoint like my original example, of course I understand that that's not a good example of complete. I like even before I had asked you about it, it wasn't like I was confused that there was a selfish or a self-involved
aspect,
thing of it. It wasn't. I was not.
So like altruism and selflessness go hand in hand, right? Like
That's-
is there such truth as like a selfless act? Like
Yeah.
anything you do, even if you go the furthest down the road, throwing yourself in front of a bullet for somebody else, that looks like a selfless act.
But really, you just want to look cool.
Yeah. Well, or like deep inside.
But do you think that
you're making some kind of a judgment system that makes it? You're making a decision based on some kind of logic inside that says this is better for myself versus the other action that you could take.
But I don't-
So you're always
For-
taking an action.
For yourself. So in that case, like you think taking a bullet for someone else is somehow better for yourself than not taking it?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I think would happen. So you already made up in your mind that it makes you feel better to be the martyr, to be the person that throws their self in front of a bullet to save somebody else. You've already made that up, that makes you a better person, that makes you feel better about yourself. It's still self-serving at some level. So, like, it's not necessarily, it seems selfless. It seems like you're not being selfless or selfish at any level. But the truth of the matter is, somewhere inside your brain, you're like, this makes me feel better to make this decision versus another decision.
Grant, what about, like Chase said, though, when it's a snap decision, you don't have time to sit and ponder, it just happens.
Yeah, but
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna.
But you've probably already made up that persona in your mind throughout your entire life to put yourself in that position where you're making that snap decision, and it's because you know when you get to that point that it's going to make you feel better. This is the right thing to do.
So it's a
This makes
principled
you feel-
decision.
It's a principled decision, but it's still based on what makes you feel better about yourself about making that decision.
See, I don't. Yeah, yeah, like I guess I can already say, yeah, I disagree. I think, and I don't even know if it would be if instinctual is the right word or wrong
Sure,
word, but
instinctual is a
like
great
yeah, like
word for it.
the same thing with the war example, or like there's somebody, standing in a street and a bus is about to hit him and you run out. There's certain things that in those like I don't like. I mean, if you're saying that anybody that would do that has already kind of made a decision that they're
Subconscious
going
or
to
conscious,
be like, but
yeah.
that seems, I don't know, that seems
Subconscious?
ridiculous to me. I don't think, because I mean, what then? How would you ever? I don't know. Like, I guess so. Somebody that wouldn't do that. I'm just
There you
I'm
go.
just
Go
trying to
down
think.
that-
Like, well,
go
no, I'm
down
just
that
trying to
route.
think because like nobody.
Go down that route. Somebody that wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
What's that mean? Go down that route. Follow
Yeah,
that.
somebody
thought
that
process.
wouldn't do that, I guess, would. Well, I guess if you see, it's tough to argue when you bring in the whole subconscious thing, and I'm not saying that shouldn't be brought into it, but it's, I guess, so they subconsciously or maybe even consciously have just made a decision to not, like, they're just not interested in like, I don't even know if it's self-adulation is the word, but it's like, I don't know, I think that the reason I disagree is it's like, I would say a shitload of people would do like the bus example that I would say like in a city trying to help out some old woman about to get hit or something. And I don't think those people, like, because it's such a swath of people that I think would do something like that, but I mean, to write them all off as like that they kind of had made a pre-judgment, whether it's subconscious or not, that it's self-gratifying in some way. I think that's, I don't know. I just
is
don't.
Absolutely self-gratifying.
think that
it has to be, because otherwise you wouldn't make that decision.
But does that, okay, I think we need to get back to the definition of altruism,
Yeah.
right? Like, just because something feels good in someone's head, even though it's asking something of them, whether it be taking the time to help someone or physically putting oneself at risk, like, what is the actual definition of altruism? You know what I mean? There's probably multiple.
Yeah, well,
and
I
that
think we were.
kind of
Well, I think we were
informs
supposed to
debate,
have
right?
somebody.
Well, it does, absolutely. But I think that again, I think it goes hand in hand with selflessness. It's in my mind, and we can look it up. We got fucking phones that have fucking definitions of the word, but in my mind, it is like the ability to actually make a selfless act out of an altruistic fucking belief
Yeah,
system.
yeah, like I think it's coming from a true, like a place where, that's why I give these examples. It's like
It's where you put yourself.
it doesn't
you
have to
put
necessarily
yourself
mean putting your
second.
life.
Does-
Now I
does
kind of
this-
see what you're saying because we're giving a lot of like life. Sorry
You
to
put yourself second. That's impossible, and I think that's my entire idea behind
Yeah.
it. Is even if you think you're putting yourself second or like not at the forefront of every fucking decision or altruistic, I'm doing air quotes, act, it's still deep down. You're doing it because it's gratifying you in some way versus the opposite act that you could have taken, the opposite road, the opposite action. Even if it's altruistic, even if it's me taking $100 and just throwing it to a random person, if I do that, like, that's still doing something for me. I'm doing it because it does something for me. I say it makes me feel better that I'm doing this action versus not taking this action. And I think every single action comes down to that idea.
But in
There
this
is no-
scenario, are you giving the $100 bill to like a poor person?
Sure.
Right? Because in that case, perhaps you're doing something that is a small cost to you, but a big impact to them.
Absolutely.
Right? So you're getting more, like, the world is getting more out of it.
Yes, exactly. But
Then
that is
you
still
are lost,
that is
you
not
know?
altruistic. Me giving that money to a poor person is not altruistic. It's doing it because it gives. Yes, it's a benefit at the end of the day to the world and to society and stuff. If I do that, because it has a bigger impact of me doing that to somebody that doesn't have the means, but it's not altruistic.
So what
It's
would be
not selfish.
altruistic in your mind? What exists?
You're saying
Nothing.
that you're saying that it has to have a zero or negative effect on you for it to be altruistic. You cannot have any positive effect at all.
No, I'm saying altruism doesn't exist. I'm saying any.
Well, yeah, I mean, like
any dis-
personally for you, like if someone is giving someone $100, it would it couldn't be altruistic because it has a small positive effect on you. So the positive effect on you would have to be zero or negative for it to be altruistic?
Almost opposite of that. What I'm saying is that if I'm giving $100 to somebody,
Almost
and
opposite.
the actual like positive impact on the world can always be whatever you want, however you want to divide and write those rules. What I'm saying is that to the person that's doing it is always going to be a positive impact on that person. The person that's doing it.
Yeah.
So you're
Well,
pro
that's
altruism
what I'm-
because of the positive impact to the individual.
Well, I think that's what I'm saying, is that, like, you're saying that nothing is altruistic because there's no way for it to have a zero or negative effect on yourself. Who is
Otherwise
giving
he wouldn't
this person
do it.
Yeah, that's exactly his stance.
So altruism is awesome because it not only helps the other
Yeah.
people,
No,
but it
he's-
helps yourself.
By
too.
the way,
But it's not altruism.
Not to speak
That's
for
what
him.
I'm
He's
saying.
maybe
We
you
need
guys
to look
are.
up
No, hold
definitions
on.
then,
Maybe
I
you
think.
guys, and maybe you do understand this, and I think his position is not that. Or I know it's not. He's not saying don't do good things because of this whole thing that he's saying it's embrace the fact that it does do something for you and that's fine.
Yeah, I'm saying when
so
I do
it's not like
charity-
he's saying don't do good acts.
When I do
because-
charity that I do all the time, podcast listeners. What I'm saying is that every time I'm making one of those like things that seems like it is not for my benefit, it still is because of my psychology that adds a benefit to myself. That's why the decision is being made. It's not being made out of selflessness. People that fucking go and fucking cook at places and
Soup
feed the
kitchens, like
homeless
you're
and
looking
do
for.
all this stuff. They're doing it. They're fucking great people. I love them for it. They're the best people in the world. But at the end of the day, they're doing it because it gives more benefit to themselves internally, psychologically, than not doing it.
That's a huge generalization.
I disagree. I think that like
Well, that's
they may
the
be
point of
getting
the
a they may
podcast.
be getting a psychological benefit from that, but they also know not only is it a psychological benefit, but they're also like affecting the world around them. They're making the world around them better, not just for themselves, but for other people.
Yes, and that's
Right.
awesome. And
Yeah.
I love them for
Right.
that. But I'm saying that the reason that they're doing it is because it provides a benefit to them. They're not doing it they would not make that choice if it was not beneficial to them.
So you're saying they're like the inverse of like a psychopath or a sociopath. Like a psychopath might do the terrible thing because it benefits them, and an altruistic person, which you think doesn't exist, does it for the positive benefit to them.
Yes,
like it's a mirror image.
It's the
Oh,
same
this
thing.
hasn't been
There's-
introduced
It's the same.
before,
Both
yeah.
people do it for the exact same reason because it
Okay.
provides it provides how would you say this? It provides positive feedback to the psychology of the person versus not doing the action that they're taking. So if you're making an action, you're doing it always out of self-benefit. And if you try to say it's truly altruistic, like I'm feeding them because I want them to be happy, well, you're doing that because it makes you think that I'm doing a positive impact on the world, which is great. That's awesome. But that's the underlying truth of why people do that, because it fucking gives them that positive feedback. It's because of self.
I think altruism can exist with that positive feedback.
How?
Why not?
How?
It's like totally fine if,
Well, no,
if someone
because-
feels good doing
because-
something good for
But
someone else.
how would that exist?
Fuck yeah, great, wonderful for the
How
world.
would that exist? How would that exist?
Yeah, 'cause
Like-
we're saying
like-
there's zero self,
Like
zero
maybe-
selflessness in it. So no,
But I don't know that selflessness
even
is
he-
necessarily part of the actual definition of altruism.
Well, we probably should have looked that up.
I don't know. I mean, I bet you there's tons of definitions of altruism, but
Sure it is. Like paint me a picture. Paint me a picture. Then tell me an act that isn't selfless or act that is altruistic.
I think we've done that,
How? What?
and you hate these examples.
What is it?
Like okay, throwing yourself in front of a bullet for either a loved one or a fellow soldier or something like that. And again, I'm talking about because the examples you're giving are like
So,
whole
okay.
like charity givers stuff like
Okay.
that. That's pre-thought out things. I'm talking
Okay.
like snap decision, things like that. I think they are different, and and I think that
Well, then tell me about that. Okay, so let's break down the psychology of the person that's throwing themselves in front of a bullet.
yeah.
Okay, so there's a snap decision. You decide whether or not you want to save somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're telling me that there's no like internal ideology that you don't already have when it comes to that point to make a snap judgment to give your life for somebody else. And I'm saying there is already an internal ideology that you have made up that says it will bring me more gratification to be the guy that will save my best friend. Mm-hmm. It will give me more gratification than to do the opposite.
What if it's from the reptilian brain? It's not that thought out. What if it's just
that's
like
more,
way deep,
that's more
deep down?
what I'm going to.
Okay,
and you can say that obviously not everybody will do, but
So-
I think you throw people in that swath of a category. Like, that's the thing, is there's so many different categories to this, and I understand
Stop saying
that.
swath.
That is true. But like in that example, like throwing yourself, like I think that oddly enough, that's why reptilian or instinctual, I think would be. I think more people. I mean, you hear about it a lot with, especially soldiers is my thing that I go to. Like they do like insane things that they never thought they would do until they were thrown into that situation.
Yep.
Now, a shitload of them probably either wouldn't be working at a soup kitchen, or if they did, it would be because of some.
We don't have to do the soup kitchen.
So these are. Well, I'm just saying they're like I'm saying that somebody who would do like they're different things, but however they get to the. Like the last time we talked about this, you did actually convince me that I did, and that's why I wanted to do this, because I did change, and I started to realize, but I still kind of stand by that it does exist. However, I do agree, or not agree, but I go more towards your side, saying it's definitely like overused and over considered as far as.
I still think,
but you won't even like bend on like there's like zero.
This extreme example.
But what self-adulation do they get if they die? Like I don't know. Like,
What is self-adulation?
It's still that. It's still like I hold myself to a certain moral compass. I hold myself to a certain fucking level.
Wait, are you part of that swath of people?
I'm not part of that swath of people. But like I still like if you're that person that fucking holds yourself to those fucking levels of fucking morality and
Principle,
shit, like
morality.
principle is the word I was
I
looking
can
for.
see where Grant's coming
So
from.
like I have that
No.
principle, and that principle is more self-serving to me. That is more important than my life.
Mm-hmm.
So even that principle is more important to me.
Yeah.
That by definition means it's important to me.
Yeah.
It is more important to me.
But you just
than
said
my
it's more
fucking
important
life.
to you.
I can
That's
kind
what
of
I'm
see where
saying.
Grant's coming
It's
from here.
more.
Hold on, I want to get what Vaughn's opinion on
important.
Grant's terrible fucking
But
argument.
hold on, you brought up some. I want to bring up something that's kind of interesting that you said about like instinctual, blah 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 blah. There is an idea that like. Hold on, real quick. We got 4 people here. Do we have any religious people? Let's just go around the
All
room.
right, you go around.
I'm agnostic. I don't know whether or not God exists, but I do not believe in a specific religion. Vaughn?
I'm atheist. I don't believe God exists.
I tend to lean towards that maybe God doesn't exist, but maybe someone could convince me otherwise.
So I guess see, that's a funny thing. There's always a struggle with. I guess if I had to choose, probably atheist. Yes.
Okay.
But either way, it's safe to say none of us
So the reason I
subscribe to a religion whatsoever.
Bringing this up, so we're kind of all like at least kind of closely related. So we all believe in evolution, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So from a what would you call it?
Evolutionary standpoint.
Evolutionary.
I wouldn't say I believe in it. I would say
psychology.
I think it's a good
like
argument.
from an evolutionary
That's
psychology perspective. Altruism. I'm doing it in air quotes because I don't actually
Yeah, quit
believe
pointing
it.
that out, by
But that thing that we call altruism is very important to the survival.
Yeah,
of our
I
species.
brought up instinctual,
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
brought up
absolutely.
reptilian.
So that's
Yeah.
why the instinctual part is. So like that's why it's really important that we understand that we're actually debating about whether or not truly selfless acts.
But then you
can
did. But you
happen.
kind of just maybe you didn't. I'm sure you didn't. You'll be able to defend this. But you kind of, in my opinion, went against your own thing. Like, because if you're agreeing that it could be, or that are you saying that it is probably instinct? Because if that's the case, if instinct tells someone to throw themselves, then you're absolutely saying in just different terms, I guess, the same thing I'm saying. Like
Or-
they
or-
did it because of it wasn't because of some self.
Or maybe I'm saying
adulation
again
or-
with air quotes that altruism is something that has.
If you
grown-
say air quotes one more time, I'm going to bring up
well,
sloths.
because nobody can see that I'm doing this. But
I'm
saying-
witnessing a swath of air quotes right now.
I'm just saying, like, the way that people throw around, not like everybody's always talking about fucking altruism, obviously, but the way that people talk
I hear it
about
all the time.
You know, it exists if you're not talking about what we're actually debating right now. Because I'm not debating that people do things that are hurt themselves to help other people, because people do that all the time. I'm saying deep down, that's not a selfless or altruistic act. And those things that we're talking about that people do that seem altruistic, that is an evolutionary unfolding.
Well, okay,
of
well,
the
this is
human
interesting.
species and
I
how
need
we
you to-
get
okay,
here.
because now, and I didn't expect this, because that's pretty much like semantics. Then you're putting a different, what I consider, I guess. So now it's just there are acts like that, but they're instinctual rather than altruistic.
No.
just-
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
That was pretty
Let
much
me
what
try
you just
again.
said. Well, let's rewind the tape here. We're gonna take.
Take a quick moment, rewind the tape.
That's not what I'm
Going back.
saying.
You kind of okay.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, yeah, semantics plays a role in this because the argument that I'm making depends on how you understand what altruism or selflessness actually is. So, like, if I can look around the world and say, oh, there's all kinds of selfless acts.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to argue is, like, we're using that word and those ideas and the things that people are doing, and I agree, there are, again, selfless acts.
I honestly see what you're saying. Okay,
But what I'm
this
saying is truly selfless acts do not exist.
Okay.
Truly.
What would be truly selfless, Grant, if you
There's-
could paint a picture for us?
That's what I'm saying. There
You
is nothing.
can't do it.
It doesn't
You're
work.
saying.
There's nothing there. The further you go down that fucking rabbit hole, the further you understand that there is nothing there. There's
What if
no-
someone announces they're about to make an act of altruism before doing it?
Wow. Okay. Okay. Yeah, let me try to think through that one.
Oh, this is a good one.
If somebody says that, yeah, no, I don't. I don't think that goes anywhere. I don't think there's,
Because it's been spoken aloud.
I mean,
it's impossible.
Again, the shitty part about this conversation is the only way to like get to the bottom is try to find the extremes, and that's what we kind of touched on a lot of times.
Yeah.
Trying to find the extreme examples.
Yeah.
where
Extreme.
you-
Okay, what is the opposite of altruism then? On the other extreme,
Well, just
how do we define?
Oh,
it?
yeah,
Is it
that's-
just pure all for the self? Is
Yeah,
it psychopathy, sociopathy?
yeah, it's
Is it-
probably
I don't
one
know.
of those. Egotism. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's self-serving every single thing that you do, which is what we do. So I guess maybe there's not a
Well, no, I think.
opposite.
Well, no.
You're saying there's not an opposite because there's only self-serving, right?
There is only self-serving.
Yeah. Okay.
But-
That's your argument.
Okay, no, this is a good one though, Chris. This is actually
No, this is good, yeah.
This is a good way to go because clearly there's people that their levels of self-servingness unfolds differently than other people. So the people
Unfoils.
that throw themselves in front of a bullet are the people that serve the soup kitchen versus the people that fucking hustle people to get fucking personal
No,
gain.
that's what I was gonna say. We have labels on it. He's a selfish motherfucker. Like, there's pretty.
And that's
So you're
true.
saying there's no extreme on the left, but there is an extreme on the right. Not to say left or right, but no extreme on the altruism side, but there is an extreme on the selfishness side.
Yes.
Okay, so you
Absolutely.
can get to this, but you can't get to that side.
Yes, and that's perfectly true, and we see that all the time. Obviously, I mean, everybody's like that. Everybody lands on some kind of level. Like, I hate to fucking disappoint all of our listeners, but I don't go to the soup kitchen. You know what? I don't. I could. I absolutely have that.
Should we
ability
do
to
it as a
that.
podcast?
Wait, how many listeners do you
Together.
think we have? Well, probably
Right now, at
upon
least
its-
4.
Yeah, that's true. Probably a fifth creep, but Logan.
Yeah, what happened to Logan? So actually, we had this other dude here, super awesome guy.
Logan.
He just,
Could have brought a whole nother
scared to
angle.
come back.
Yep.
But
We think he is in the building. We could go get him if we want.
in the
If we hook up Vong's extension microphone cord, he maybe could stay on the mic and go get him. But
So, Chris, what do you
another
think?
what do I think?
Yeah, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it all depends. For me, still going back to a question of semantics, like definition. What is altruism?
Yeah,
right?
see, that's the
And,
thing. I
like,
guess we haven't
think for
clearly
Grant,
described.
an altruism is an act that is completely selfless, and it comes from a place of I don't care about myself at all. I'm only doing this for someone else, right?
Right.
But I also think probably there's multiple definitions of altruism, and I think altruism is like doing a thing for someone else that like requires something of me, whether it be time or money or effort or whatever, doing something out into the world. And I think if that's a definition, then it's a different argument. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of like understandings of what altruism
I understand.
is.
I understand that, but I
Yeah.
think that's like, I'm not arguing that. Like, there's some fucking good ass people that do things that.
Wait, hold on. This is time for Chris. O is going to read this
All right,
definition.
here we go.
All right, Chase has pulled up a definition of altruism here, which
Okay.
I will read from the internet. This comes from www.verywellminds.com.
Yep.
Oh yes.
Hey, this is
That sounds
this is
legit.
an accredited
It might
institution.
be good. I don't know. This one says altruism is the unselfish concern for other people doing things simply out of a desire to help, not because you feel obligated to I think that's a typo. To out of duty, loyalty, or religious reasons. I think
See,
it's or.
when
out
somebody
of
has a
duty.
typo in a definition like that, you can trust it.
You can keep looking. You can go Oxford English. You can go
Either way, that's
Merriam-Webster.
I mean, either way, that's what we're talking
Yeah.
about. So I mean,
Right.
there's nothing changes with that definition. It's the same thing. It's
well,
coming
hold
up.
on. Let's
Let's look at
dig around,
Webster.
Chase, because I think there are different definitions.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
That one's
Oh,
fine to
I
talk
get
about
it.
too. But like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It depends how you define it. I think altruism is like, and maybe my definition is wrong too. But it's like someone helping
Hey,
someone
this
else.
is Merriam-Webster,
Okay,
but
Merriam-Webster.
I don't know you.
Okay.
I've never.
So Chase has
what do
pulled
you-
up Merriam-Webster.
More
Let's go
familiar
to the
with
top,
reading
I think. Okay. So there's a couple here. Number one is listed as unselfish regard for or devotion to the welfare of others, right? So unselfish falls into Grant's position quite
Exactly.
a bit, right? But the or piece, devotion to the welfare of others, right? That definition, at least, uncouples itself from the unselfish piece, right? And that's where you get into a different discussion, perhaps.
Wait, and those are two
And there
different
is a
ones on
second
those?
one as well.
No, but that wasn't the same.
That was one with an or in the
yeah.
middle.
Okay.
The second one is behavior by an animal that is not beneficial to or may be harmful to itself, but that benefits others of its species.
Yeah.
Oh,
we're-
okay.
I think
we're an
humans are
animal.
animals too, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So we're on the
fuck
same
yeah.
page there. So it's like, okay, not
read that-
beneficial to itself.
Read that
Okay,
one more
so
time.
if you are locking into not beneficial,
Yeah.
then sure, you win the argument, right? But I think that's where you lose the ability to have an interesting discussion, and maybe I'm
I
uncoupling from this definition for the point of like there's more going on than just locking
Wait,
it into
wait,
the
Well, I
selfish
think
piece.
I think
Or the
I
benefit
think
piece.
I think this is an important
Yeah.
like distinction too. Like
Okay.
yes, there are different definitions. I would argue
Sure.
that there's different levels of altruism. But what I'm saying is,
Wait, hold
Wait,
on.
oh, wait,
You're
what?
saying there's no altruism, but there's levels to
Well,
it
we
as
just
well.
caught him in a
so this
fuck.
is interesting.
Yeah,
No, no,
what-
let's get
hold
it.
on,
Yeah,
hold
let's
on,
go.
hold on, because
It's good.
what I'm saying.
Oh wait, no, folks, he forgot to put the quotes up.
What I'm saying is air quotes swath
Air swaths.
is my argument isn't about the way that we.
You're just saying there's always a benefit to
You-
the individual doing the
That's
action.
all I'm saying.
And that's fine. And I think there is. And I honestly think that that's a good thing, that there is a benefit to both
Yes.
the individual and the people.
And that might
we
be
probably agree.
So maybe we should
Yeah.
swerve this argument, or not even this argument, but this discussion a little
Oh,
bit.
this is an
Again-
argument, dude.
Again, back down to the like evolutionary unfolding of humans and shit. Is that and again, I'm gonna use unfolding. I'm gonna use the word altruism, even though what I'm arguing against is that altruism doesn't exist.
Okay.
But I'm still going to use it in the definition that we're,
Sure.
kind of changing here, meaning like something that is more beneficial to others than it is to yourself on the surface level.
Yeah.
That is definitely, in my opinion, a unfolding of evolutionary Why are you laughing every time I say evolution?
Chase is laughing because one time, no, it's not evolutionary. It's
Explain
unfolding.
this to the audience.
Chase, I don't know. I don't even remember why, but a long time ago,
This is
we were
years
talking
ago.
and Chase referred to something as unfoiling.
And no, I'm not. So whenever you say unfolding, I'm making fun of myself for saying unfoiling.
He's remembering the time he said the phrase
Because unfoiling
unfoiling.
is not a word.
And I was like, dude, I don't know if that's
Yeah,
really.
and he called me out
But
on
that's
it,
okay.
and to this day I'm embarrassed and laugh and make
But
fun of
now
myself.
It's fun to say unfoiling.
Anyway, no, so it's not making
Little
So-
sidetrack. Little sidetrack.
So let's say that, okay, again, keeping in mind that I'm not saying, I'm using altruism now as like that idea of doing something
just that type of act. Yes.
that seemingly on the surface is
Yeah.
not for the self-serving
Yeah.
purposes. And then we can start to divide that into like, okay, like it's there's levels of it. Like me giving a high five to somebody is way less than me giving $100 to a homeless guy. But
That could be the worst.
to Chris up,
Yeah.
how do those and now I'm fucking drunk. But how, and that's the whole point of this Chant podcast. Having some level of quote unquote swath altruism is definitely a benefit to our species.
I agree.
That
Absolutely.
makes
Yeah.
it makes sense that we have
It's
that.
fucking sweet that we do.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
would
So
be
that's
shitty
what
if
we're
we
saying.
didn't.
So psychologically, it makes sense that even though it might not benefit us, always self-serving the way that I'm arguing, or right? Some people might-
This
It
is
makes
just-
sense that humans have evolved to a way that they take care of other people.
Yes.
That allows us to create our little groups, to create our tribes, to create our society.
Yeah, which
our
eventually
communities.
built up
helps
to
the species survive.
This is
Yeah.
exactly
to make everything
yes.
unfold. And that brings up a good point. We haven't heard from our little
Yeah.
fucking
honestly,
37-year-old
I don't remember.
right here. Dude.
Wait, this is Asian perspective. No, but honestly,
Hey, you don't
I
have to
remember-
call out his race, dude.
Anyway,
Let's hear it, Vong.
No, I don't remember you because you talked before, but I don't. Did you just like yes or no? Did you give a firm answer on if you believe altruism exists? I don't remember if you actually did, or just handle it the way you want. Yeah. How do
Yeah,
you?
I mean, it's tough to say with Grant's definition of altruism. It's
that
very
does make it is.
it's very difficult to kind of provide an answer for that.
Well, your interpretation of it, I guess.
Yeah,
is-
my interpretation, I would say there's enough leeway to say that it does exist. But again, if we're going with Grant's definition, it's very hard to say if it does exist at all. And I've been sitting here thinking if I can figure out a way within your definition that I could, that it would work.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a minefield.
Yeah, good. No,
Someone would
Grant
have
is
to
good
do-
at painting this fucking.
Someone would have to do a good thing for someone else while being like completely uninterested in doing that thing with detriment to themselves. And it's a very hard situation to like figure something that would go into there.
Well, but no,
Yeah.
no, to me it's
That-
not though. It's
No,
not,
I
that's
think no. He did a good job of
No, he
exactly
did.
fucking.
No, I'm not talking shit about. I'm saying, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. When people do things, people do these acts like they do happen, like I'm saying, where it is definitely detrimental to themselves.
Yeah.
And yes, so like those are the ones that like.
But
and that's the thing,
internal-
It's a
such
question of what
Is this-
detriment
is
is,
this-
too.
is this
There's
like,
other factors
um,
besides just the brain feel.
Are you talking
your time, your
Are you
effort.
talking back again about like taking a bullet for someone?
And that's one thing that could come to mind. But there's obviously, I if you put me on the spot, but yeah, again, okay, what would be your? Do you think a guy that in a war situation or something that does that? Do you think he's he's doing the he's putting his life on the line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I
definitely.
refuse to believe
There's-
that it's like but this is because of this
This is-
self-adulation.
it's
To
not-
look,
no,
to
he
look
goes-
super
I
cool.
would say
This is-
there's
Grant says it's because he's apparently planning on surviving and being on the fucking front page.
No,
of the paper the next day.
He's not planning on surviving. This person is not planning on surviving.
Okay, so I mean, it's like the alternate. So and you think that, but
it's another situation I can think of, which it would not be true.
Okay, that might be not as an extreme of an example.
This would not. This would not be true of every person who would take a bullet of another person for another person.
I'm agreeing. But, it takes a person with true altruism.
I'm not finished.
Okay, I'm sorry.
In some situations, right? You see a guy who does not take a bullet for another person next to them, and they may sit there and regret that for years and years, maybe the rest of their lives, and it goes against their values as a person. But again, I'm not saying this would.
That's exactly it.
Yeah,
that's exactly it.
That's creep is agreeing.
Well, I see what he's talking about, but again, this would not be the same for every person who does take a bullet for someone else.
No, disagree. But I think that's the decision that happens. It might have already happened before you make that instinctual decision, but you already in your mind know whether or not the benefit to taking the psychologically the benefit to taking the bullet versus the benefit to letting your fucking buddy die. You're making a decision that makes you feel better. This is better. I'm ready to die. It makes me feel better than living the rest of my life fucking regretting that I didn't jump in front of the bullet.
I want to explore more what you're saying. Are you saying that the person that...
No, he's going down a good route here.
No, he absolutely...
Also, I'm not saying for every single person.
No, it is for every person.
In that split-second decision, there are, things like in your brain just firing, right?
Yeah.
And you're figuring out this decision. Maybe you decided wrong based on your belief system. You take the bullet when you shouldn't have. You didn't take the bullet when you should have. Not every single person is going to take the same decision. It's not.
Of course not.
It's a decision that's so massive that many people have never really thought of it before. It kind of happens and you decide, and you can be correct in your belief system, or you can make the decision incorrectly on your belief system.
Yeah.
And my argument is that regardless of the decision you make, it is self-fulfilling. Like, that's a selfish act. It's
So you're saying the guy who jumps in front of the bullet, you selfish piece of shit. Is that...
I mean, at the end of the day...
I'm just kidding.
At the end of the day, that is exactly what I'm talking about. I'm saying if you make that decision, right or wrong, when you make that decision, you're making that decision because of your own internal psychology.
The Rolodex of things that have to happen in those... And by the way, okay, I guess the reason I bring up the war soldier is...
Because it's how we have to argue this point. We have to get to the extreme.
Yeah,
because
but also there's... Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. What if you, in that split-second decision, you take the bullet... Mm-hmm. You didn't die right away. There's several minutes left to live.
This is what Grant is in his head. He's thinking the guy gets to get on the fucking front page. This is Grant.
And then you, in those several minutes, you're like, "Fuck! This was the wrong decision. I should not have done this. This is awful for me. I would have rather the other guy died." Would that?
I could.
And then that guy's
Yeah.
saying, "Fuck altruism. This sucks." But no, I totally know what you're saying. But that decision that he made before that is an example, in my opinion, of a truly altruistic act. And obviously not in every case. You can make this argument all the time.
How do you make that decision?
But the reason I bring that... What do you mean?
How do you make that decision?
You're acting like in those people...
How does somebody make that decision?
Because a lot of times I think it's that quick where...
How do you make that decision if you already don't think that it's better for me to make this decision? Like, you wouldn't make the decision if it was...
But it's not a pre-calculated thing. You're making this assumption that
it's...
And you're acting like in that moment they're flipping through this fucking Rolodex.
Oh, no, that's already...
And it's like,
no,
it's
for
like,
sure.
No, it is...
For sure, that's already... I think it's absolutely...
You think it is?
Grant's saying everyone is a TI-82 calculator.
So what is the... it's all about nature versus nurture is what we get down to then in that point.
Okay, sure.
Right? No, is that what you're saying? Because if not every person is doing it, now we get beyond because it's got to do with the upbringing,
Sure.
the moral values that they have. So now it's nature versus nurture.
But
You're talking about fucking determinism, too.
regardless,
yeah, it gets into a whole other thing.
regardless if it's nature versus, or it doesn't matter how you got to there. All I'm saying is when you're making that decision, it doesn't matter if nature or nurture. Either way, you got to that fucking point where you're making that decision.
But it absolutely matters for your argument.
You're making that what? Say that again.
It absolutely matters for your argument. Because
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. Because I am saying that it's nature. You're saying it's nurture. So there's a clear difference. Yes,
it can be either.
You said some people wouldn't have the same moral values and the whole thing that builds up to making that decision.
Sure.
I'm saying no, that in that moment it's a snap decision that I agree there's some people that won't, some people that will, but I don't think it has anything to do with how they were brought up. I think there's other factors. If you're saying that it has to do with how they were brought, then you're saying
that's what I'm saying.
Nurture matters more than
I'm not saying that. It doesn't matter where that decision, how you ended up in that place where you make that moral decision or self-fulfilling decision at that moment. I don't care if it comes from nature or nurture. It doesn't fucking matter. Either way.
Wouldn't that be very important?
Either way you get. Either way you get to that point. But the decision you're making is
you're going against something you brought up. You said that in order to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, chime in on this.
Well, I don't know whether it's nature or nurture.
It doesn't matter.
Can we all take a moment to think that, okay, even if Grant is right and people benefit from doing helpful acts, isn't it cool that like people can do a helpful act and then fucking it helps other people and themselves? That's fucking sweet.
That's a cool
fucking thing about being a person. That's the shit.
Hey,
right?
Chris,
no, am I wrong?
Chris, I agree 1,000%. I think it's fucking awesome that people are able to do things that, again, on the surface level, fucking detriment themselves. To give fucking positivity.
And even if people are wired to do it, right? Like they get a benefit from it, that's fucking sweet too.
Yeah, that's fucking
like
dope.
We should want that because if they're not wired to do it, then it's going to be bad for society and humanity. You got
we're
a lot of psychopaths
evolved to
crazy
do
shit.
that. And those are the greatest people in the world. Those are my favorite people in the world. The people that do that. That's why I'm saying, like, if I'm going to say, again, use a different definition of altruism, there's a fucking level to it. And the people that are fucking more on the altruistic side, I fucking love them to death. They're the best people in the fucking world. What I'm all coming down to is that the actual argument, there's still selflessness does not exist. There's a self-serving lizard brain understanding psychological fucking thing. There's a swath of shit going on.
All right, let's go this way, Grant. I agree with you that like, okay, you're saying selflessness doesn't exist, right? Like, okay, let's say someone tries to be the most altruistic person. Like they say, I'm going to go out in the world and be the most altruistic person, right? They're going to run themselves into the ground. They're going to try to help every single person they can, and then their life is going to be ruined, and they're going to die, or they're going to get sick, whatever, right? And like that is something people can't do too on the other end because it's just self-destruction.
Yep.
Right.
Sure.
So we're in agreement there.
Some people self-destruct.
It happens.
Through that.
People have that. People are wired so strongly.
In fact,
that way,
there's probably
they do it, and
there's probably an argument.
It's finding the right balance.
There's probably an argument to go a different route on this conversation because I probably beat my point to death, even though you guys don't like it.
It's fun to argue against.
Yeah. There's probably an argument to that. Too much, quote unquote, altruism is bad in that it doesn't allow the individual to grow and become the best. Hold on, I have to back this up a second so that it makes sense actually.
It's like a take care of yourself so you can take care of others too.
Sometimes
after that. Then you get a bonus after
yourself
that. You get
so that you can take care of other people.
If you take care of yourself first, then you have the capacity to help others.
I appreciate that you understood what I was trying to say, even though I couldn't eloquently speak it. But that's exactly what I was trying to get to. Sometimes maybe we go too far in that, hey, I don't want to bring politics into this, but sometimes we believe that we have to take care of everybody to the detriment of ourselves, that doesn't allow us to take care of ourselves so that we can help other people. And that's a thin line. It's a weird line that we play, especially in the political realm. And again, I don't think we want to get into politics
No, we
here,
don't.
but
Going back to, like, evolutionarily speaking, right? If you have a society of people who will not take care of themselves because they're too busy taking care of other people, the individual selves will eventually, like, self-destruct. It's not a sustainable society.
Well, for those people, yes.
Yeah.
Well, for those
That
people,
portion
but
of society, yes.
yes, because if
You can overdo it.
a majority of the society was like that,
True.
the society would
Yeah.
eventually shrink because they're too busy helping other people. They're not taking care of themselves.
Yeah.
well,
What if
that-
they get in some sort of mutual arrangement where they're boosting each other?
This
up?
is a political art. This is a political. This is political. I mean, it's the way
Yeah,
that.
it's hard to
Yeah,
avoid,
how should we like form as a society and a community and
Grant,
stuff?
your
like,
opinions on abortion. Go. Just kidding.
Actually, I do have a.
Oh,
I have
God,
a pretty
don't get
interesting.
into-
I do have a pretty interesting perspective on abortion.
Wait, what about going off the rails here?
Going off the rails. No, all right. No, let's talk abortion real quick because I'm interested in your guys' perspective because I know that politically we don't always align.
Much like an unborn fetus, I do not have a fully formed opinion on this topic. I do think that, like, you max out at a certain point, right? Like, okay, is it like if you abort a baby a day before it's born, that's probably like too close, right? So people think there must be a limit on that side,
Sure.
right?
The
But
grain
at the
of
same
sand,
time,
yeah.
you also, I don't know, I feel like if people are
So, like,
dying or
politically,
there's health reasons.
All right,
yeah.
so politically, meaning like policy that we should put in place. I'm pro-choice. Like policy-wise, I believe I'm a libertarian. I believe that people should have the ability to make their own choices for themselves. We're the freest society that ever existed. We should have that freedom to make our own choices.
What about the choice to sell your
Hold on.
children into slavery?
Hold on, we'll get to that in a second. Because that's interesting.
Sorry, we've gone off the rails.
No,
man.
no, it's
we've
cool,
gone off
it's
the
cool.
rails.
Now, philosophically, I'm agnostic. I don't know if sperm entering an egg starts a soul. I don't know. I realize that I don't know. So philosophically, I don't agree with abortion. I don't like it. Politically, policy-wise, that's not my choice. That's everybody else's choice. You do what you need to do. But deep down in myself, if I fucking dive deep, I say, if you fucking have a baby growing in you, you probably shouldn't get rid of it. I think human life is fucking the most amazing thing we have. And I don't know, I think we're a bunch of monkeys. I really do. I don't know. That's the way that I think about it. So it's.
But by the monkey standard, monkeys like kill babies, they rip faces off, they do all kinds of crazy shit.
Absolutely, they're fucking not altruistic.
You said you were agnostic earlier, but you do believe in a soul?
No, I don't know if a soul exists.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think it's possible to know.
Okay.
That's the truth of agnosticism, and I use this all over my life, is that I believe deep down that nobody in the history of humanity has had the ability to understand how thoughts, rationale, and logic come about. Hence, because of that,
What about,
any piece of fucking truth, we can't know.
do you believe in the possibility of soul music?
Holy shit.
Just kidding.
That's not a question.
That's
Don't
not a
answer
real
that.
question.
Yes.
The best.
To be absolutely honest, the whole point
yeah.
of the Chant podcast is to fucking go off the rails.
Yeah,
it's to just fucking talk. It's to just discuss.
No, it was kind
It
of
is.
to handle one topic. And how do I know this? Because this was my idea.
No. Let's have discussions. That's what we're
Of
supposed
course
to do.
it is. No, I'm not mad, Grant, but I'm just saying that no, it's not. It's not to change subjects. in the
okay,
middle
let's
of
put it this-
I don't give a fuck. It's
Let's
funny.
put it this way: we can't
but it'll be severely edited.
we can't bring out 2 hours about talking about altruism.
Okay, that's fine.
So let's talk.
So once a topic is exhausted, then it don't. Grant, trust me, I'm fine. We can talk about. I don't give a fuck.
let's go off
talk
the
about
rails.
clitoral circumcisions in Africa.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Do you agree or not
Let's-
agree?
let's
I don't
have-
give a shit. Like,
No,
I'm not-
let's-
Episode 2.
let's have a conversation right now, Chase, about the podcast, because my idea of the podcast was what me and you do when we sit around here, we get drunk, we have fun, we try to fucking understand each other, and we try to push each other.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter where it goes, because
Well,
that's
yes.
that's what we've done for fucking 15
Yes,
years.
yes.
It makes us fucking think about whatever we're thinking about. We just fucking throw it out. We
Yes.
talk about it. So why do we have to like confine it to a thing? Let's just have
Wait a-
conversations.
folks, we're witnessing the disagreement of the podcast.
No, this is a great example. This is like a microcosm of our arguments.
No, honest. Okay, yeah, no, because again, I'm not upset about it, but I'm just saying because you kind of have to hone it in at some point. You can't have. I mean, you can, but it's just kind of a.
I don't think we should. I don't think we should hone on something. I think we should start with something, and then we should just talk like we always do.
No, that's weird. Because then why even have a? I don't know. It's just.
Why even have a talk? Because that's the whole point.
You're going,
Let's
oh,
have
so-
a conversation.
Oh, you just want to turn the mics on and go off brand.
Yeah. I think that's great. I think that's fucking beautiful,
I need to
man.
have a general idea. I don't know.
I mean,
like,
And I'm not trying to find fucking
okay,
people.
you guys were involved in our first. And, no, and
I'm
I wrote
only
down
a
that
guest
it's been-
here
It's been going on
today.
for almost an hour. I think it actually was good. I don't know. It's been going good. It's fine. What would you? Okay. Well, how about this? Who agrees with Chase? Try to stick to one topic, or who thinks?
Good question.
It's a little tough. It's I think you can kind of do a combination of both, but you can't get too.
Wait, do you think abortion coming from altruism is a little bit extreme?
It's a weird turn.
Disagree.
How did we make this turn? I just don't remember. We could review the tape.
I mean, the
probably
important.
For the first time ever, we could review the tape.
The
and
important
find out
thing
why.
is that we're having interesting conversations.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not upset about it. It doesn't. I'm just
You
saying.
seem so upset,
But
Chase.
but
I am pissed.
the other thing I want to say is like you can't just keep skipping around topics because then you really don't cover anything.
Yeah, which
that
is what this
fully-
asshole wants.
Yeah, but
to do.
I think we
but-
did get a good job on the altruism
We
thing, so
did.
now it's time to fucking just go off the rails.
Shit. But I wanted my idea for the podcast. I think, and maybe you. And this is another thing.
Yeah.
You guys are witnessing because we haven't talked about.
Yeah, no, we can talk
I
about
think closing arguments is kind of a decent idea because, and it's actually thanks to you because you almost
almost.
took away when we talked about altruism the first time when it wasn't being recorded. Like I was almost on board with that it doesn't exist, but then pretty much you brought me to a line of that I still think it does, but it's way less than I used to think. Like,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Drawing lines.
so
yeah.
point being, I think closing statements of people like whether or not they whatever. We don't even have to do. We could just talk about abortions, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the deal. I think that
Yeah, yours didn't change.
I am ardently standing on my position, and I'm not trying to downplay any other argument against
Absolutely
it. But
not, no.
I think that I have my opinion. I think I said my opinion. I don't know if I need a closing argument. It's just I just don't believe it exists, and I don't believe. Maybe it goes back to the whole thing of agnosis. Like our brains fucking work in the way that they work, and we don't know how they work, but they're always self-fulfilling, and they always have been. That's how we got here. That's how we evolved. That's how we showed up. That's how we make our decisions. That's how we are as people. And even though it seems like sometimes it's a selfless act to do things, that decision-making process is happening from within the brain, the rationale, the logic that happens that we don't even know how that unfolds, but for sure it's happening to fucking imbue our fucking survival, and it's what it is. Like, that's just how it is. Like, there's no selfless act. It is happening because it's better for our psychology. I mean, there's no other reason you would make a decision that's against it, because your decision-making process is happening through that fucking mechanism.
Okay, so that's
some drunk. That's why we call it.
No.
That's why we call it drunk.
Folks. Okay, that wraps up closing argument number 1 made by an awful person. Now let's go to number 2, wrong.
Oh God, I don't even know what to say here. It's kind of tough because it's kind of goes with the definition of altruism, which is not necessarily completely 100% defined. Grant says there's kind of levels of altruism, but also that it doesn't exist. It's a little bit confusing there. I myself think that yes, there is altruism. Even though there may be evolutionary factors in there, things that may affect your instinct, your ability to react to a certain situation. I don't think that's necessarily defines what you are going to do all the time. Maybe there's a certain proclivity to it. But any person can act or not act on those proclivities, and you may make a decision that goes against yourself, or you may make a decision that goes for yourself, and you don't necessarily know at that moment when you just react. You just do it.
All right, now, so I'm going to move it to the third person. So that was a very good person, well thought out, and Asian, unlike the first closing argument. So now, on to the third.
Dude,
Chris
stop
O.
being so racist.
I don't think this one is fully resolved, and that's okay. I think Grant's argument, and we didn't even get into this, but it aligns with like determinism, where like everything is pre-planned based on what's going on in the brain, right?
I would love for
Right?
that to be the next
Right?
fucking
It's
topic.
like it's tied in with that, I think. And like, yeah,
We could do it 2
it's
hours.
real easy. I will say it's easy to argue determinism. And
Yeah,
it's easy
it
to
is.
argue. It is.
It's harder. It's harder to argue against
Yeah.
determinism than it is to argue for.
I think the same with this debate
Yeah, we should do
as
determinism
well. Yeah.
next time.
But
Because
Hey, folks, that's a teaser.
okay, yeah, that could be the next one.
that's what we
But,
call
like,
teaser
okay.
in the podcast world.
So it's hard to like argue against the idea of like, oh, this all happened because of something in your brain, right? And the thing in your brain happened because of the thing in your genes from
Little
your
different,
parents
but yeah.
before you,
Yep.
and whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. It is different, but whatever.
Yep.
So like, yes, you can make that argument all day long, and that's totally fine.
Yep.
But I do think where it gets interesting is if you depart from that, and maybe it's unfair to depart from that, maybe it's not. But like, oh, there's a dog right there, right? So like right now, I want to pet this dog. It makes me feel good, and the dog maybe likes it too,
Yeah,
right?
no, you
So
did it
in
because it
Grant's
made you feel
argument-
good.
What? Are you making me
You
feel
did it
good?
because it made you feel
Yeah.
good.
But the thing is, like, does it matter, right? Like, I think it's cool. I heard somewhere that basically the idea of altruism comes from the amygdala of the brain, right? And some people have different sized fucking amygdalas, which does tie into Grant's argument that it's all based on whatever, your brain and whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, I think it's cool that humans evolved to have that, right?
Yep.
And it also ties into game theory of, like, cooperative versus not, right?
Sure,
That type
that's
of
the
shit, too,
evolutionary
which is a whole
benefits,
other
yep.
side of it,
Yep.
which we never kind of got
Yeah,
to.
no, that would have been a good place to go.
Right, but like,
Why didn't you bring that up like an
we
hour
didn't.
ago?
Yeah, we never
Yeah.
got there. I don't know.
It's well,
But whatever.
Well, it could,
But
no,
at the same time-
it could go on. It doesn't matter.
Like Vaughn said, it is. I think it is based on your definitional reason of what altruism is, and I think different definitions exist without seeing them in front of me. But I think if you argue from Grant's definition that there must be no benefit to the self, then sure.
No, there
It's
has to be a benefit.
Or sorry. Sorry.
No. He's saying
No,
for altruism to exist.
For altruism to exist, there must
Yeah.
be no benefit to
Yeah.
the self.
Correct, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then
That's
it's
what a
easy,
pessimistic
it's easy
asshole
to make
says.
that argument from that position. I'll say, kind of right. It felt easy for you to make that.
Well, I don't
Well,
know
no,
if I
because
say
I believe
that.
in it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
easy for me to make that argument because I
also
believe in it.
argumentally, it's easy. I think.
Yeah.
But I think
Wait, so
if
you-
we define it
he
differently,
takes the fastest route out.
Maybe, I don't know. You just
No,
said
go
I
on,
would.
go on, go on.
I'm just saying, like,
No, Chris.
but if we
yeah.
define it differently, which, of course, changes the nature of the discussion.
Sure.
So the question of definition, right, is like someone doing something for someone else, and it costs me some time or some money or some effort, right? Then I think altruism does exist, right? But it's a definitional shift. It's different.
Sure.
It's different than what Grant is arguing,
Yes.
right? But I do think we should examine different definitions of altruism,
Sure.
right?
Because
people do that shit all the fucking time.
Yeah,
Hey,
if we change the definition,
great.
that's what we're talking
Hey,
about.
hold on,
I
hold on, hold on,
absolutely
hold on.
agree that altruism exists.
Okay, hold on.
I think that's the foundational question, though.
No,
is
I don't
what
think that it-
definitions are out there. Because I think there's more than one.
But I don't think but again, that's not like the argument that I'm trying to make. Like,
I know.
I agree with you.
I know.
Like, if we change that definition to,
That's
the
why
idea that
this is
people-
not
yeah.
like gelling, is because you have the
See,
certain
hold on.
definition.
Right.
You have a
Can I
different
jump
And
in?
because I think we'll both we'll be on the exact same page.
one. Yeah.
We're on the exact same
Like,
page.
I think, Grant, from your definition of altruism, I agree with you. But I want to say, but I do. And
Because he
that's-
paints
I do.
it self.
There we go.
But
Then
I
we're on
also
the
want to
same
say,
page, because if I'm
but
good-
from that definition, yes.
Yes.
But I want to posit there's probably different definitions of altruism.
Sure. And if
that
we're doing-
changes- and I wonder what you would think to those definitions.
Oh, absolutely
Yeah.
would probably fall on the exact same line that you're falling on.
Okay.
Like, yeah, if we move that from like there's no self-serving
Yeah.
ideas and there's no self-serving reasons for actions that are taking. If we move from that to even just like 1 little centimeter to the right of that, then I'm gonna agree with you.
'Cause
Absolutely.
No one exists in the world by themselves,
No.
right?
No.
And it would be weird if we did, right?
Absolutely.
The last
We're a
man on
fucking
Earth type shit.
community of
Right.
apes that
Yeah.
have to take care of each other, and that's an important part of
Right,
fucking
and
humanity.
that's like hard coded into us.
Yeah,
For the
absolutely.
benefit of everyone.
But for
right?
the benefit
And
of
we
everyone.
agree on that. I
That's
think.
how we got
Yeah.
here, bud. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for that.
right.
That's why we can sit here and probably have this fucking discussion. That's hard coded
No,
into
there's
us.
no need to swear.
But Grant, don't you think you like this puppy dog right here more than
Yeah.
just like you selfishly?
no.
Like you also are like, this dog is pretty cool, right?
No.
Yeah, I love that fucking.
Yeah.
I love this puppy with
And
my
that's
entire
why I
life,
think
dude.
altruism.
And guess what?
is
I'll
real.
fucking take care of that dog forever. But if
Yeah.
I do something like
That's at a cost to you, though. Your time, your money, right?
Absolutely.
And you get the benefit of the love and the care
Absolutely.
of the cool dog. and the
Absolutely,
fun-
because it gives
fun
me
way to
a
scale
benefit.
and
What
are you
shit.
doing?
it gives
Yeah.
me benefit.
Wow, this is awful.
It gives me
By,
benefit.
by the way, I haven't even gotten the
this
chance to
out.
do
Okay.
my closing.
All right,
This is
let's
bullshit.
give it to Chase. Here
I
you
should
go.
have
Here
never
you go.
talked. Okay, so we have a couple things that I need to say. Now, as an experiment before this first podcast, we can pretty much all agree that it went well. However, it got pointed out just now that I guess maybe have a clear definition for what we're arguing about. Or not even arguing, just debating and talking about.
Yeah.
Because apparently in this case, yeah, definitions truly matter. And probably in a lot of the cases of things that we bring up,
Yeah.
it will probably matter. So
Absolutely.
I guess, and trust me, there's nothing wrong with, like, the fact that got brought up is actually good, but it's just interesting because, yeah, if you change the definition, that's what I brought up, like, semantics before. It's like, yeah, you can bounce around the ideas. Like, such as, I think that there still is, in my brain, true altruism that exists, even though it's rare. However, if you skew the definition, of course, my opinion can change. Like, it's
Well, sure.
just like anything.
But I
mean,
think
it's
I
like,
think
so
I
it's-
think that's like comes down to the whole point that we're talking about.
No, absolutely. No, I'm not upset about it. Of course, I'm not saying it actually
Yeah.
fell apart. It actually went well. It's just the fact. It's just interesting, though, that I guess for future topics, like having, whatever, I guess having more, like, maybe a modicum of preparation.
Oh, I don't. But see, here's where.
No, and of course, not overdoing it.
Yeah,
whatever,
no, but here's where I kind of disagree. I think the way that I'm looking at this podcast, if we're going to try to do this, and I don't care, this isn't about fucking people listening to it or anything.
No, I
it's
agree.
about,
It's
like
not- yeah.
me and you talked about, and let's just be true. It's about fucking having a conversation and being natural about it and not, like, trying to better ourselves through this. Like, we talked about it the other weekend almost as like a form of
Yeah, therapy. I brought that
Therapy.
up. yeah.
And
No, and
that's
I still feel that way. But,
and that's-
but having a loose... I'm talking about a loose structure. I'm not talking about fucking...
No, I think this is the
but
I think
guess, yeah.
in my mind, this is the perfect structure. We start out with an idea and we just see where the conversation brings us because that's how we do it. We're not trying to fucking do like a A B C D. We're trying to do what
I get that.
What
Yes.
me and you have done for 15 years that has allowed both of us to not only know each other better, to know ourselves better,
And
to know
by
our
the way,
ideas.
not only just me and you, I had no problem with these two showing. No, because we've done that in our friends. We've had conversations about
Like
all of us
here-
have about
here's a-
similar type
True.
of things.
Here's
That's why.
Here's the truth of the matter. Like, me and Chase like to fucking find a Saturday night and get fucking drunk. and we like to debate about stupid shit.
We're not talking drunk. We're talking
fucking wasted. But like through these conversations over the years, it has allowed me to understand my own perspective on these things because lots of times we disagree.
Yeah.
But it's not only like hearing your perspective back to me, it's also when I'm speaking
Articulating your
my
own thoughts out loud
back
to
to
another
him,
person.
then it allows me to further evaluate my own understandings of these issues, of these topics. And sometimes they're about altruism. Sometimes they're about fucking, was Scorsese's best movie? Fucking.
What is Scorsese?
Oh God. We can jump into this.
Mine is The Departed.
What?
Yeah.
Oh Jesus Christ! This is a whole.
All right.
Holy shit.
But that's the whole point.
Okay, next podcast. The audacity of Grant to say that Scorsese's best.
But I mean, that's what we're supposed to do. That's the whole point of this, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Well, okay, so then if we have to wrap this up, and maybe we wrap it, cut it, and then do a fucking Scorsese podcast.
What?
That was a good conversation.
Absolutely. I think it actually went very
Yeah,
I think it
that
went
was
very
fun.
well.
Chase, thank you for fucking hooking up the mics and all this shit. This
No,
is
that's
dope.
part
This
of it.
is dope. And then also thank you to our Asian friend who's 37 years old.
37-year-old Asian.
Chris O.
Chris O, you think this, because you've been on, well, actually both of you have been on podcasts. This, in my opinion, this setup worked
This
out
is
kind of
sweet.
like
Yeah.
the long bar
Yeah,
with
microphones,
the
the bar
I
that
think it
Grant
worked
built.
out.
Yep, the bar the
solid.
grand Chris O.
This is
Fucking
sweet.
Congratulations,
Thank you,
man.
Grant.
You're gonna
Yep.
have a kid.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
kid on the way,
That's
everyone.
awesome.
Everyone, this is going out. Kid on the way, September. Drops in September.
Announcement. You heard it here first.
Yep, he's gonna. I'm not gonna say what I'm gonna say.
Severe editing going on. But
No, that's dope.
all because of Grant.
So let's sign it off.
All right, we're gonna sign this off, and then we'll figure out what to do.
We gotta figure out a good sign off.
Oh, Chris O, suggestions.
Okay, hold on real quick, just in case. So the reason we're calling it the Chant
Yeah.
is because Chase and Grant.
It's a portmanteau of your names.
Yes.
Yep. But
Combine them both into one.
we should come up with like a chant.
Oh, chant for the chant.
Thought
And
about
like,
this.
should our sign off be a chant? Maybe that's for next time.
How would it work?
Tune in for episode 2.
Well, okay, no, we could come up with this right now, because it would be funny if we were to come up with a chant to do a sign off.
Yeah. What would it be? Would it just be saying chant?
Would it be? Would it? What? No. Would it be me? No. Wait.
Never mind, though. Never mind.
Would it be?
Side note.
Just as simple as
Ignore that.
I go sign and then you do off. So, I don't know. It's got to be a
No,
chant.
that's terrible.
No, that's a chant.
What if we go like this? What if we go?
What?
We'll go 3 chant and then fuck you, listeners.
They're both making fists right now.
Wait, what?
We'll
But
see
we
where
say-
this goes.
do we
They're
say
both
the
upon
word?
table.
Yeah, we go.
Chant.
Okay, here we go.
And then
Chant, fuck you, listeners. Ready?
Oh, Chase doesn't look like a fan.
chant.
Fuck
Fuck
you,
off,
listeners.
listeners.
Just the two of us. We can make